You probably think the only people paying attention to you at the airport are the folks behind the check-in counter or the TSA agent scanning your bag. But the truth is, long before you even arrive, there's a good chance someone already knows you're coming. Airports don't just deal with passengers, they track them. If you've ever caused a scene, filed a complaint, gotten flagged for anything unusual, or even just flown frequently enough, there could be a quiet note next to your name. Airport staff, especially gate agents and flight crews, sometimes get tipped off about special passengers. Not just high-maintenance travelers or VIPs, but people with temper issues, security flags, or repeat problems. The moment you hand over your ID, you're not just a customer, you're a profile. They know who tends to cause delays, who complains the loudest, who needs a little extra watching. Even flight attendants sometimes scan the manifest and spot a name that's been whispered about in briefings. So, if you've ever felt like a crew member was a little too attentive or suspiciously cold, it might not be in your head. They knew about you before you ever stepped on the plane. You watch your suitcase disappear behind the black rubber flaps at the check-in counter and hope for the best. But while you're grabbing a coffee or heading toward your gate, your bag is going on a journey of its own, one that's far more intense than you'd ever imagine. Before it even joins the conveyor belt with all the others, it enters a hidden labyrinth beneath the airport. Inside that maze, it's scanned, sniffed, and scrutinized by some of the most advanced security systems in the world. We're talking explosive detection machines so sensitive they can flag a trace chemical from a few inches of fabric. X-rays, CT scans, chemical sensors. Your bag is going through a technological interrogation. And it's not just looking for weapons or explosives. It's programmed to detect anything out of the ordinary, no matter how small. If something doesn't add up, say a weird density pattern in your souvenirs or a tightly wrapped package, the bag can be silently pulled aside, opened, inspected, and cleared without you ever knowing. It's like a secret mission happening in real time while you're sipping overpriced coffee, completely unaware that your belongings are under a digital microscope. And the crazy part? That's just standard procedure. Now, let's say your bag doesn't make it back to you. Maybe it gets rerouted, mislabeled, or simply disappears into the system. You file a claim, hope for a call, and maybe even get a generic apology email. But behind the scenes, something else is already happening. After a certain amount of time, usually 90 days, airports don't keep your lost luggage forever. Instead, it gets rounded up, boxed, and shipped off to auction. That's right, your missing suitcase, filled with your clothes, electronics, maybe even personal letters or gifts, is now someone else's mystery treasure. Buyers show up with cash in hand, ready to gamble on what's inside. It could be luxury watches, designer clothes, or just a pile of used socks. No one knows until the case is opened. For some, it's a quirky business model. For others, it's a bizarre form of treasure hunting. But for you, it's your memories, your stuff, sold to the highest bidder. It doesn't matter if it had sentimental value. Once the timer runs out, it's no longer yours. So the next time you check a bag and hope it shows up on the carousel, remember, if it doesn't, it might just end up starring in someone's YouTube unboxing video. You're cutting it close. Your flight board's in 20 minutes, and you realize you need cash. There's an ATM right by your gate, glowing like a beacon. You slide in your card without thinking, punch in your PIN, and grab the bills. Easy. But what you don't see? The outrageous fee you just got hit with. Airport ATMs are some of the most predatory in the world, charging sky-high withdrawal fees and using shady currency conversion tricks that drain more from your account than you realize. Most of these machines aren't even operated by banks. They're run by third-party companies that count on you being in a rush, distracted, and out of options. They flash no-fee messages or offer to convert currency on the spot, making it sound convenient. But behind that friendly interface is a trap: double charges, terrible exchange rates, and fine print designed to confuse you into paying more. It's financial sleight of hand at 3,000 feet above sea level. So while you're rushing to get a sandwich before boarding, you might be losing more at the ATM than at the overpriced snack bar. Pro tip: withdraw cash before you hit the airport, because once you're inside, your wallet's already under attack. You finally make it to your gate, breathe a sigh of relief, and then you hear it. The announcement asking for volunteers to give up their seats. The flight is overbooked, again. But here's the thing. That's not some fluke or last-minute mix-up. It's a calculated move. Airlines have been playing this game for decades, and it all comes down to one thing: money. They sell more tickets. Then there are seats on the plane, banking on the fact that a handful of passengers won't show up. And they're not guessing. They've got years of data and predictive algorithms that tell them exactly how many people will likely cancel, reschedule, or just not make it. Most of the time, it works out. But when it doesn't, that's when you see chaos at the gate and gate agents offering travel vouchers like candy. And if no one volunteers, people get bumped. Sometimes without warning, sometimes without compensation, and always without much choice. You think your ticket guarantees you a spot on that plane? Think again. In the world of airline profits, you're just a number, a seat to be filled or dropped, depending on what makes the most financial sense. It's one of those things no one wants to think about, especially not mid-flight at 35,000 feet. But it happens more often than people realize. A passenger quietly slumps over in their seat, and after a moment of confusion, it becomes clear they've passed away. Now, here's the part you'd never notice. The crew doesn't panic. There's no dramatic announcement, no visible alarm. Instead, they use a set of calm, coded phrases that mean everything to them and nothing to you. You might hear someone quietly mention Jim Wilson or refer to Operation Bright Star. To the untrained ear, it sounds like just another airline procedure, but to the staff, it means there's a deceased passenger on board, and a very specific protocol is about to unfold. The goal is simple: keep the cabin calm and avoid panic. Sometimes the body is moved to an empty row. Other times, if the flight is full, it may stay in place, discreetly covered with a blanket. It's unsettling, sure, but it's also the most respectful way to handle an unthinkable situation in the middle of the sky. And chances are, if it's ever happened on a flight you were on, you didn't even notice. That's exactly how they want it. You board the plane, find your seat, and try not to think too hard about who sat there before you. But maybe you should, because while the tray table might look clean and the seatbelt seems fine, the truth is, most airplanes are far from sanitary. Those quick turnarounds between flights, they don't leave time for deep cleaning, just a fast wipe of the obvious stuff, if that. Meanwhile, hundreds of people cycle through those seats every day, coughing, sneezing, eating, even changing diapers right where you're about to place your snack. And no, that tray table isn't disinfected between every flight. In fact, studies have shown it's one of the dirtiest surfaces on the entire plane, often worse than the toilet flush button. And those seat back pockets? Let's just say they've held everything from dirty tissues to used barf bags. Most airlines only do a full top-to-bottom cleaning once a month, sometimes less. So while the plane might smell fresh and look tidy, what you're really sitting in is a flying petri dish held together by optimism and air freshener. You're stuck at the gate, hungry, bored, and staring at a sad little sandwich behind a glass case that somehow costs more than a full meal back home. You check the price again. Nope, it's not a mistake. $12 for bread and mystery meat. Welcome to the world of airport markups, where logic goes out the window and prices shoot through the roof. But it's not just greed, it's strategy. Vendors inside airports pay insanely high rent to operate there, and they're often required to give a cut of their profits to the airport itself. To survive, they jack up the prices on everything: water, snacks, headphones, even magazines, each one marked up because they know you're trapped. There's nowhere else to go, and they count on your convenience outweighing your common sense. And when you're tired, stressed, and desperate for anything to eat, that $6 granola bar starts to feel like a reasonable deal. It's not. It's a carefully crafted trap that catches almost every traveler sooner or later. So, next time, do your wallet a favor. Pack your own snacks. Because inside the terminal, even junk food comes with first-class pricing. You've walked past them 100 times. Those sleek, quiet airport lounges tucked behind frosted glass doors, where travelers lounge in comfy chairs, sip free drinks, and actually look relaxed. Maybe you assumed they were only for the elite, first-class flyers, platinum members, or executives with six-figure travel budgets. But here's the truth most people miss. You don't need to be rich, famous, or flying first class to get in. Many lounges offer day passes for a reasonable fee, and some credit cards grant you free access without you even realizing it. That's right. While the rest of the terminal battles for power outlets and overpriced coffee, you could be inside sipping espresso, eating hot food, and recharging in peace. The best part? It's often cheaper than what you'd spend at the gate grabbing snacks and drinks a la carte. Lounges aren't just about luxury, they're about escaping the chaos. And once you try it, good luck going back to hard chairs and noisy boarding announcements. The velvet rope isn't as exclusive as it looks, you just need to know where to push. Your flight lands early, and the captain proudly announces it over the speaker like it's some kind of miracle. Passengers cheer, a few even clap, and you feel like maybe, just maybe, the airline finally did something right. But here's the twist. That early arrival, it's a lie. Airlines have been padding their schedules for years, quietly adding extra time to flight durations so they can appear more punctual than they really are. A flight that used to take 90 minutes now shows up in the system as a 2-hour journey. So when the plane touches down after an hour and 45, it looks like you arrived early, even though you were just on time, or slightly late by the old standard. It's not better service, it's optics. This tactic boosts their on-time. Performance stats, which play a big role in customer perception and government rankings. You think you beat the clock, but the clock was rigged. It's all about managing expectations, because if you believe they over-delivered, you're less likely to complain when something actually goes wrong. You're deep into a long-haul flight, trying to get comfortable, maybe fighting your neighbor for the armrest, and somewhere in your head, you assume the pilots are up front, wide awake, alert, and guiding the plane through the night. But here's what most passengers don't know. One of them is probably asleep, and that's not an emergency. It's completely legal, even expected. On long international flights, pilots take turns resting in hidden compartments most travelers never see. These aren't regular seats. They're tucked-away bunk spaces built into the aircraft, often above the cabin or behind a locked door near the cockpit. It's part of aviation protocol to keep pilots well-rested and sharp, especially when flights stretch past 8 or 10 hours. While you're watching a movie or dozing off with a neck pillow, one pilot might be in full REM sleep, while the other handles things up front. They rotate, recharge, and wake up ready for landing. It's safer this way, but it's also a strange thought. The person responsible for your life mid-air could be snoring peacefully while you sip ginger ale 2 doors down, completely unaware they're even gone. You glance out the airport window and see a plane taxiing toward the runway with barely a IE. Soul in sight. No boarding call, no rush of passengers, no one visibly heading on board. You figure maybe it's a repositioning flight or a test run, but chances are you've just witnessed a ghost flight. These aren't spooky in the supernatural sense, they're spooky in the logistical sense. Airlines sometimes operate nearly empty, or even completely empty, flights just to keep their time slots active at certain airports. These slots are incredibly valuable, and if airlines don't use them a certain percentage of the time, they risk losing them to competitors. So, rather than give up a multi-million-dollar asset, they'll fly the plane anyway, burning fuel, paying crew, and crossing miles with no one in the cabin. It's a quiet loophole in the industry, rarely discussed, but entirely real. And while travelers are being bumped from overbooked flights, these ghost planes cruise through the skies empty, all to maintain a schedule no one's actually following. It's wasteful, bizarre, and completely hidden from public view. You wouldn't know unless you were watching closely, but now you will.